We've all been there. Something you didn't plan for. It's your health, your spouse, your job, something that now stands in the way. As Mike Tyson reminds us, everyone has a plan till they get punched in the face. Anyone can make a plan, but very few can execute when the pressure's on. Well, imagine having a way to handle things that get in the way, even turn the obstacle into an opportunity. Welcome to A Call to Rise. I'm your host, Joel Landy, founder, entrepreneur, former naval officer, and this is where we help you build resilience, which is the ability to manage high levels of challenge and disruption while maintaining high levels of effectiveness and well-being. Because goals without setbacks are uncommon and big plans without resilience are just not happening. So if your job or life demands staying and playing at a high level, you're exactly where you need to be. So let's jump in. If you feel like things are falling apart today, you might actually be just on schedule, right? But there's also a chance that things might need to get harder before they get better. Now, before you turn the podcast off, most podcasts are going to tell you what you want to hear, but this episode is about the things you need to hear, but potentially you've been avoiding to hear, right? And there's a prevailing lie right now, and I know you guys will agree with me, right? That there's a lie that we all buy into, but we know it really doesn't work, and it's affectionately known as the hack, right? This year, it's the year of the hack, right? Maybe it's the decade of the hack. But there's a shortcut for something, right? There's a hack for sleep. There's a hack for business, for fitness, a hack for your marriage, hack for your happiness, right? But there's a reason why we're addicted to the hack, right? It's because it's easy, right? It's a buy now, pay later scheme. And what we've come to find out as you journey in life that, we need the truth, but we're terrified about the truth, right? Because the truth is often heavy. And it's difficult to take in. It challenges our ego, right? But it's the only pathway to getting stronger. And I want to repeat that, right? The truth is really the only pathway to getting stronger. Not getting more or getting things, but getting stronger. And so, the truth will set you free, but first, it's going to make you miserable. And that's because the truth hurts. And it doesn't hurt because it's cruel, but it's because it shines a light on something we need to have in our life, something that we need to learn, something that we need to change. And a lot of times it's the very thing that we're avoiding, right? And so at the heart of the matter is this idea, right? This idea that the things that we reject are connected to these truths and they're hard lessons. But when they get revealed, that's where change starts to happen, right? That's where we no longer feel held back, right? We get the insight. And if you're here to find these types of solutions, right? You've got questions, you're looking for answers. We all want to get bigger, faster, stronger, better. But sometimes we just want to really get out of a rut of bad thinking. And I want to remind you that in order to get out of a rut of bad thinking, you're going to have to go to battle with yourself, right? As our SEAL team buddy told us, right? The first real battle that a person will face is the battle of their own fears and their own doubts. And sometimes it's really, it's the battle of their past too. And so, I want to tell a story about, what happens to people when they get close to goals. And I've learned this about people, right? People don't fail at the starting line. Like no one goes to the Boston Marathon and, pulls out in the first mile or so, right? They often fail when they're like 80% in, right? And that's because, and this is as a metaphor, in the last 20% of anything that's significant in your life, you're going to face your own fears and your own doubts, right? The demons are going to come out. And I want to illustrate this further in a real story. Back in 1953, one of the greatest achievements of mankind was when Sir Edmund Hillary and Sherpa Tenzing Norgay, they were the first to summit Mount Everest, right? 29,000 feet, the peak touches the jet stream. You can't go up there without oxygen. If you take your oxygen off and you're not acclimatized, you can die within 1 or 2 minutes. It's pretty radical place, right? And so as these two men in 1953 were the first to summit, they came upon a sheer 40-foot wall at the very top of the climb before they reached the actual summit, which would later be named the Hillary Step, right? And so it was something that they had no idea that they were going to face. And later, Hillary would go on to describe it as a barrier beyond their ability to overcome. And I use it as a metaphor in coaching. As I mentioned earlier, I've helped a lot of people do a lot of interesting things, and it's not uncommon when they get really close to getting to their goal, they start going through, what's this going to mean? And they go through their doubt, they go through the demon phase, they go through the, this pushback phase, right? Because they get so close, and they've done so much of the work, and for different reasons, people don't finish at the very end, right? And so, again, we mentioned this earlier, right? The truth. It doesn't hurt because it's cruel. It hurts because it shines a light, right? And that's what I think a good podcast is designed to do. This was my vision for this podcast, would be to shine a light on areas for you, everybody to get help and to move forward and get some of the answers that they were looking for to tough questions. And so I'm going to ask you a question today, right? There's 9 areas that people often wrestle with, right? And these are 9 areas that I know from my coaching practice that I've helped other clients work in and overcome. And so I want to help you shine a light in these areas and ask you, where do you need to shine a light so that you can go forward, so that you can grow forward? I want you to name one of these 9 and have a conversation with somebody. These are going to be very common, and you're going to identify with them immediately. Number 1 is just burnout, right? And we all struggle, right? We get into routines. We feel flat, restless. The things that have excited us, they no longer excite us. We're not fired up, right? And you don't feel the pull of doing the things that you once really loved. That's really a scary, scary place. And so I want you just to, as a solution, think about what is really important to you and identify what are 3 priorities that you can set for this upcoming week. And there may be conversations with people about this topic. And I want you to put it in your calendar and talk to other people about what is the most important thing to me in life right now and what is getting in the way. Why am I stuck? Number 2, you're just no longer in growth mode. And this is when you don't want answers. You want to be entertained. Right? This is where you're more focused on looking good than getting good. And look, no judgment, but hey, you need to admit it, bro, so that the truth can set you free, right? And that's just, we all get into cycles like this, but the question is, are you in that cycle? And is it really having an effect with you? And I want to ask you to replace that 1 hour of passive entertainment. Commit every day, 1 hour a day, Monday through Friday, to learn something that is truly interesting to you, that is technical, that's going to push you academically or intellectually. You got to start somewhere. Pick something up and start that. Number 3 is just the comfort trap. We all understand the comfort zone. It's the easy route. It's what makes us feel good. But the reality is it makes us lazy, and it really kills our confidence. And what happens with our confidence gets killed, we get afraid, our world starts to shrink, and life gets small, and we feel small. Right. And so, of course, the easy antidote for this is to start pushing yourself socially, to start having small conversations. I talk about Starbucks and the gym and the grocery store and the Trader Joe's. You got to push yourself to say things and get engaged in conversations. That's the stepping stone to playing small and pushing past your own fear and timidity. Number 4 is loneliness. And I want to talk to the guys right now, man. Look, we're not trained to build deep relationships. A lot of us have fathers that flopped in this area. But I'm here to tell you, if you're a woman, men have a tremendous capacity to have really great relationships. All right, they really do. They've got the hardware. They need the modeling, and if you're a man and watching this podcast, I want you to push yourself to reach out to other people. Let it start with a shared hobby. I'm a cyclist. I used to surf. I ride the racetrack on a motorcycle. Find people that you trust and start pushing yourself to have real conversations. Number 5, the real conversation, sexual health. Okay, guys that are dissatisfied with themselves and where they've landed in life have legitimate sexual needs. And when they go unmet, man, they become, you talk about a compounded frustration, which creates, sadly for a guy, a bad cycle, right? Where now he's trying to sort himself out. He's trying to take constructive steps forward. He has all this frustrated sexual energy. And this pull really is significant. This is a huge part of a man's life, right? And so again, the solution here is, first, it begins with a level of transparency with somebody that you trust, that has a high bar, that's smart, that can understand and help you to have that conversation. We're not going to unbox that today because that's a big conversation. That's an entire podcast. But if your sexual energy is being drained or twisted, it's going to take you down. And it's going to distract you from doing productive things and having really healthy relationships. Number 6 is just financial pressure, right? Being passed over for a job, being underemployed, not being employed. Look, your confidence is going to be destroyed if you're not making an income that is commensurate with the value that you think you bring, right? And you've got to come up again with a step and move towards somebody that you respect, that has a great position in life, and start having a conversation. Am I going to tell you what to ask? No, just start having the conversation. Just start it. You'll know where to go. Number 7, physical decline and health changes. Your body, and my body, is aging. My muscles are strong. My connective tissues aren't. Things break very quickly these days, but I'm still all in. I'm all committed. I'm having a great time, and I love what I'm doing. But I can tell you, when I start to get weak and I start to lose mobility, I feel older than I actually look. And so for me, it's now functional training. It's mobility training. I dialed in my diet, lots of protein, sure, water, blah, blah, blah. But really do the kind of training right now that your body needs in your station in life. You should know this, and you should be actually training it. Don't train for vanity. Train for strength. Number 8 is just a loss of meaning and purpose. And you're going to go through this. Why do I exist? Why? Why am I here? And I'm laughing only because I've asked myself that question, even as a saved Christian. Sometimes I have, and at times, the way forward with a deep question like that is to take a step back and look at your history and ask yourself, where have I had the most impact? And what are the talents? What do people say about me that I bring to the world? And if you really listen, they'll tell you. And you'll be surprised. And if you don't know that, ask 3 or 5 people, what do you think my greatest strength is? And start building on that. Number 9 and last is just relationship and family stress, marriage, divorce, kids, separation, parent demands, aging parents. At the end of the day, you and I get drained emotionally from things. And that's just the truth, right? And we have an obligation to find a routine and a rhythm that restores us and protects our energy, right? We manage energy, not time. And especially guys have a hard time taking care of themselves. I beat the snot out of myself on this bicycle that I love doing, but it has a consequence, and I laugh again, but it's not funny, because if I can't come back from a ride and then be present for my wife for 3 or 4 hours and I got to take a nap, something's got to be modified, right? So I want you to think about those 9 areas, right? And I'm throwing a lot at you, and these are deep areas, right? But I want also to remind you of the science behind us and how much we can actually push ourselves and how much we have in reserve. And you can Google this. But the science is in that we, by nature, underestimate significantly our functional strength and capacity. Now, here's what I'm not saying. Don't go out and put 400 pounds on the bar and try to squat that, because now you're getting this motivational speech from me. But the reality is they've done a lot of this. Is scientific testing with athletes. And without getting into the data, the conclusion is we always hold back a small amount in reserve. That is what the science tells us. This is not opinion, it's science. It's the same way with us in our lives. It's the same exact way. We live at a very much smaller percentage of our potential and our capacity just because we're lazy and we tell ourselves, and we don't put ourselves in positions where we push ourselves. And your life is going to rise and it's going to fall in proportion to your courage and your desire to take the right risks. And you want to talk about a fun life and a full life. A fun life and a full life is when you're taking a lot of wise risks. I'm not advocating living a risky lifestyle. I'm talking about doing meaningful things that do require courage. Something as insignificant or as going into a restaurant and seeing somebody about to sit down that has a smudge on their pants and saying, I don't know if you know this. Just stuff that requires you to go out of your comfort zone for the right reasons. Right? That's what we're talking about. But the truth, it does set us free. But first, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. And the truth lives on a scale of, hey, I don't know if anybody ever told you this, but you've got bad breath, to, hey, I remember me, 1994, having another adult male sit me down and say, I don't know if you know this, but you're a horrible listener. Now, that conversation in 1994 changed me. And I made a decision that I was going to learn how to be a great listener. I think I am. Now, I'm not on the podcast to stroke my ego. This is not a vanity moment for me. I'm telling you, it was a huge, huge weakness for me. But another man had the confidence and the courage in the right way to to tell me this is not something that you're good at, and it's something that you definitely need to get good at, especially if you're going to be in the human services arena, if you're going to serve other people, if you're going to help other people grow, if you want to be a change agent, you're going to have to do less talking, and you're going to have to do more listening, right? It is difficult to hear the truth. A couple of things need to happen. One is you definitely need to be in the right space. You need to go into the situation with, hey, you know what? I want to grow. I do want to hear some difficult things. And so I'm gonna open myself up to difficult things. I'm going to come to the table in a certain relationship, and I'm going to ask questions, right? In the corporate world, we call that feedback, right? And if we ask enough people, we call it 360 feedback. But the first condition is you've got to want it. It's not imposed on you. The second thing is you have to trust the people that you are opening yourself up to. You have to open yourself up to people that have earned a level of trust that you believe are going to give you good feedback. And of course, you can't get offended when they tell you things that sting, because that's why you're going to them. But you've got to trust in the people so that they can give you the kind of feedback that you're going to need in return. And then lastly, you've got to take action on the things that people tell you, and that's gonna make the difference between whether or not it was a interesting experience and it becoming a transformative experience, right? And so the truth is not cruel, but the truth is necessary, and it's difficult. And I've built a life around having difficult conversations so that people can find the growth and the joy and the reason and the purpose in life, right? It all comes through that very specific portal. And so the truth will set you free. It genuinely will. That is a teaching. That's actually Jesus of Nazareth teaching. You see it, even if you're not a believer, you just see that to be true, right? And so hiding is not going to get you far. Lying will never get you far. Playing small never gets you far. But putting yourself in a position where honesty is going to shine a light on areas that need to change, your life's going to change. And you're going to thank yourself for that. And so that's my challenge. That's my charge to you. Put yourself in that position intentionally. You do it. You take charge. You call the shots. You set it up. You create the conditions. You think about it. And watch how it begins to change who you are and where you go. May 15th, Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. Look for a link coming from us, but we're going to be putting out a free 2-hour webinar. It's going to be some of the best of the things that I've shared here so far. We're going to talk about building resilience. We're going to talk about turning obstacles into opportunities. We're going to talk about setting and achieving audacious goals. All stuff that revolves around the things I've shared here today. And so if you've liked the content here today, you'll love what's going to be coming May 15th. It's free. There's no strings except that really hardcore sales pitch I'm going to nail you on if you show up. If you're brave enough to show up. I don't know. I hope you are. I hope you're brave enough to show up. But it's going to be a great, great webinar. We hope to see you then. If not, we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us. If today's conversation challenged you, it's a real signal you need to do the work. It's no longer an option for you. So don't push that feeling away. It's reminding you of the cost of playing small. Success is easy when things go well, but resilience, that's cultivated when things go sideways. Make sure you subscribe, and if this episode brought you value, pass it on. It's how we grow the tribe. We'll be back, hopefully next week. Until then, I'll see you next time. Here is your call to rise. Rise up so that others can rise.